Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Professor Hassan and you are watching my channel Professor Hassan Hamayu. Today on 10th May 2022, Punjab Public Service Commission has announced the date of the written test for the post of lecturer statistics. Now PPSC will conduct the written test on 22nd May Sunday 2022. I, being a professor of statistics, will discuss many important lectures, many important topics with you people, and today I will discuss the important topic of time series, and inshallah in the next 10 or 11 days I will work hard for the students, and I request everyone, don't miss a single second now. That job is very precious. It is BS17 job, lecturer statistics, and inshallah you will be selected. After the paper of written test, after 1 or 2 days of that test, I will work for the interview preparation. I will work on your confidence, on your accent, on your eye to eye contact, on your portion of statistical concepts. Let's start the topic. First of all, I will tell you what is time series and analysis of time series. Dear students, whenever we calculate the data according to the time period, it is called time series data. For example, if we collect the prices of petrol for different months, that is the time series data. If we collect the production of wheat for different years, it is time series data. If we collect the prices of rice for different weeks, it is time series data. If we collect the expenditure of the families for different months, it is time series data. If we collect the schedule of enrollment of the students in a college or a university for different several years, that is a time series data, and the observations will be y1, y2, y3 up to so on yt. We have the observations. These can be prices, these can be expenditures, these can be sales, and these can be different commodities prices for the time period. For different times, we have collected the temperature for different days. We have collected the rainfall data for different days. That is a time series data. And whenever we analyze that data, whenever I analyze the prices of petrol for different months, it is the analysis of time series. If we analyze the data of the production of wheat for different years, that is the analysis of time series. If we analyze for any thesis, for MPhil or PhD thesis, if we analyze the rainfall for the temperature for different years, for different months, for different days, that is the analysis of time series. So it is very clear to every student, whenever we collect any data for the time period, when we have arranged the observations in the chronological order, whenever we have the chronological order or time series collection of the data of the prices, of the expenditures, of the production, of the enrollment of the students, that is time series data. And whenever I analyze that collected data, that will be analysis of time series. Next question is, the first step in time series. In first step, the time series, we plot the graph, we plot the observations on the graph, and we take the years on x-axis, a very important question, and we take the observations on y-axis. And we know, I have discussed in many videos, and that is the question of every paper, the graph of the time series is histogram. The very important question, whenever we collect the data, actually the middle value of the year, if I talk about the year, the middle of the year is at June or the 1st of July. the value which is in the middle of the year, which is on June or 1st of July, that will be considered the value, that will represent the value, that will be the indicated value. And if I talk about the month, if I collected the data of prices of rice month wise, January, February, March, April, May, June, then the 15th of date will be the middle value, and that will be the indicated value. I will have to take the middle value which will be collected on the 15th of June, 15th of July, 15th of August. Next question is very important, and it is question number 7 actually. Components of time series. There are 4 components of time series. Number 1 is secular trend. Number 2, seasonal variations. Number 3, cyclical variations. Number 4, irregular variations. These are T, this is S, it is C, and this is irregular. And now I will discuss very important points for these components. Here I will discuss the secular one. It is seasonal, it is cyclical, and here I have irregular. Dear students, if I have the collection of data of the sale of the cold drink like Pepsi, Coca-Cola, 7-Up, if I take the sale of cold drink, as everyone knows, the sale of cold drink, whether it is Pepsi, Coca-Cola or 7-Up, it increases in the months of May, June, July, in the summer season. It means there is the seasonal component in this much. If I take the sale of cold drink, if I take the use of warm clothes, if I have collected the data for the sale of warm clothes, for use of warm clothes, there will be the fluctuation in the data, there will be the variation in the data in the months of winter season. So there is a seasonal component. For example, in the paper, if they ask the question, whenever we have the sale of cold drink increase in the month of summer, there is which component? And there will be seasonal component. And we know the use of light clothes, t-shirts and sleeveless, you can say that the shirts, it increases in the month of summer. And the warm clothes, we use jackets, we use sweaters in the months of winter. So there is a seasonal component, seasonal, you can say. And if I say increase in price, in the holy month of Ramadan, the price of fruits, the price of vegetables increase, and that is the seasonal component. In the example, in the paper, if the example is given, you will have to click the seasonal component. And I will give you one more example. The price of air ticket increases in Corona season, in COVID season. If you just have collected the data of the prices of the tickets for the air tickets, and that there is a fluctuation, there is a rapid increase in the days of COVID-19, this is the seasonal component. And this will be actually, you will have to say the season is there actually. And what is about irregular? Whenever you have strikes, you have earthquakes, you have floods, all those components actually, whenever there is a variation because of strike, because of earthquake, because of floods, these are the components of irregular variations. Irregular means it is denoted by I. I will give you the example. The price of vegetables increase in floods. This is irregular variations. Next, secular trend. They are long-term variations. These are long-term variations. If I talk about a project of green Pakistan, if there is a project of 1 billion trees, the effect of, if there is any policy of the government, any good policy, the effect of this policy we will have to see the change after a long period of time, after many years, after 5 years, after 10 years. There are the variations, but after many years these will come in secular trend. These are also called long-term variations. I will give you the example of human population. If we have the data of wheat for 50 years, that will be the example of secular trend. Now we will talk about the cyclical fluctuations. In cyclical fluctuations, we have a complete cycle. There will be prosperity, there will be a decline, depression, and then there will be recovery. And for example, in business, like this will be the graph. We have a peak. Our price is increasing, our business is increasing, and then there is a decline. It is decline, and it is depression also. And then there is a period of recovery, and it is a peak. A very important question in cyclical, there is actually the periodicity. A very important concept. In cyclical variations, we have a complete cycle. In a business, you can see there is an increase, there is prosperity, there is a period of prosperity. We are increasing, we are earning much more and more, and then after peak, we have a decline, contraction, and it is a depression, and then there is a period of recovery and peak. In cyclical variations, we have the difference between two peaks actually, a very important one. The question is the use of ice cream in summer season. It is an example of seasonal variations. Use of warm clothes in winter. It is an example of seasonal variations. Use of soup in winter. Seasonal component. Increase in the prices of tomato, potato, ginger, garlic in the month of Ramadan. Seasonal component. Next is increase in price of air ticket due to COVID-19. Seasonal component. Next is increase in the price of ticket for month between Pakistan, match between Pakistan and India. That will be also the seasonal one. Seasonal variations are repeated within 1 year or less than that time. A very important one. Next is main reasons of seasonal variations are customs, social customs. There will be the religious festivals, can be Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, Rabiul Awwal Sharif, and the weather conditions. If we have the hot weather, there will be increase in the sale of the cold drinks, and whenever we have the winter season, there will be the increase in the use of the sweaters, the jackets. Sale of bottles increase in the summer season. Seasonal component. Seasonal variations may occur within a day, week, or a month. Change in temperature, it is seasonal on daily basis. Next is cyclical fluctuations. A cycle is completed when starting with a peak. It started with a peak, comes down. It started with the peak, it is peak, then comes down. The declining curve reaches a low point, it is trough, and then rising again, comes towards the peak, and it is for more than 1 year. Next is irregular variations are also called random variations. They occur in unpredictable manner. Strike, we do not know about it. Floods, we do not know in advance. Earthquakes, we do not know in advance. Fire or war, etc. These variations are also known as accidental, residual, or erratic variations. These are non-recurring variations. A very important one. Detrending. if we have collected the data and there is the component of secular trend, and if we remove the effect of the trend, it is called detrending. If we remove the effect of the trend from the observations which we have collected according to the time period, it is called detrending. And if what is deseasonalization? If we know that in our collected data, in the collection of the data, there is a seasonal component. If we remove the effect of that seasonal component, it is called deseasonalization. And time series decomposition is used to check the effect of these four components of the time series separately. If we check the effect of all these four components, secular trend which is T, seasonal which is S, irregular which is I, cyclical which is C, separately, it is called decomposition, a very important one. And we have two models, a multiplicative model which is YT, it is our observation collected on the time period, on a time, it is equal to, we have T multiplied by S C into I. It is a multiplicative model, and we have a additive model also. It is T plus S plus C plus I. These four components are assumed to have multiplicative relationship, which is called multiplicative model. We assume that in every observation which we have collected according to the time period has all four components and they are in the multiplicative form. If we remove the effect of seasonal variations, then we have T, C and I. What is YT? YT observation which we have collected at any time. A very important question. YT, this is the observation which we have collected at any time, and T are stated in original units, whereas the remaining three, seasonal, cyclical and irregular, are expressed in percentages, a very important one. Next is in additive model, YT is equal to T plus S plus C plus I. TSC and I are assumed to be mutually independent. Next question is there are four methods to analyze secular trend, a very important one. First is freehand curve method. Next is semi-average method. Third is moving average method. And fourth one is least square method. There are four methods for the determination of the secular trend: freehand curve, semi-average, in moving average and the least square method. The process of removing the effect of the trend component is called detrending. As I discussed, whenever we want to remove the effect of the secular trend, it is also called only trend, it is detrending. And whenever we remove the effect of the process of removing the effect of seasonal variation, it is called deseasonalization. Next is very important question. There are four methods for calculating the seasonal index. Number one, percentage of annual average method. B, ratio to moving average method, ratio to trend method, link relative method. Next is the process of removing the seasonal component from a time series called deseasonalization or seasonal adjustment of data, and the obtained time series is called deseasonalized or seasonally adjusted time series. Next is very important, it is forecasting. Whenever we collect the data according to the time period, with the help of that data, we forecast a value and observation about the future. It is called forecasting. The process of assessing the value of the time series variable in future, it is called forecasting. Forecasting is based on the assumption that the past behavior or pattern of the variable will be continued in the future. Next question. A time series is affected by economic factors as well as non-economic factors. Next, the rise in human population is a long-term variation. It is the example of secular trend. Next is parabolic trend is a polynomial of degree 2. Parabolic in quadratic we have degree 2. Next is the graph of The graph of parabola equation is U-shaped. Next is trend value in a time series cannot be obtained by least square, link relative and second degree parabola. Actually, trend value in a time series is obtained by least square, link relative and second degree. It is not obtained by logistic growth curve. Next is a cycle in a time series is represented by the difference between the two peaks. As I told you the graph, these are the two peaks, and it is for more than 1 year. Next question is, in time series, deseasonalization is needed for the study of cyclical variations. Next, cyclical variations are interwoven with irregular variations. Next, in a time series, the variation arises due to periodic change over a span of more than 1 year is known as cyclical variations. Periodicity of time series is the maximum duration of the cycle. The cycle duration is called periodicity, and it should be at least more than 1 year. Which component is used for the short time forecasting? It is seasonal indices, seasonal variations. Next is, in cyclical variation, the objective is to remove the trend and remove the seasonal effect. There are two objectives in cyclical variations. We want to remove the trend as well as remove the seasonal effect. Next, seasonal variation is measured by using seasonal indices. We use seasonal indices. Next is, seasonal variations repeat within a cycle of a year. Next, trend cannot be S-shaped in a short duration, a very important. Next is, semi-average is suitable when data are available for long period. Next, the method which determines secular trend with the help of 2 points known as method of semi-average. In semi-average, B is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and A is equal to y1 minus bx1. In method of semi-averages, the trend is assumed to be linear. Its power is 1. Next is, for smoothing a time series, we use moving average, a very important one. Next is, centered moving average is calculated in the case of even number of years. In BSc, we have solved the questions. 2-year centered average, 4-year moving centered average. For the centered, we use the even number. It is used for even number of years. Next is, non-centered moving average is due to odd number of time points. Next, the method used for getting trend values for each given time point is method of least square curve fitting. What do we do in least square? We have years, we have y values, we have x values. We make the line y is equal to a plus bx, and then for every single value of x, we have the value of y. So what did we learn? The method used for getting the trend values for each given time point is method of least square curve fitting. Next is, the best method to estimate alpha and beta is least square method. Next, least square method of fitting a curve is most exact. Out of 4, it is the most exact one. Next is, in time series, the trend is linear if growth rate is constant. Next, the best method to find out seasonal variations is ratio to moving average method, a very precious question. Next, most widely used model in time series is multiplicative model, not the additive one. Next, in case of multiplicative model of time series, the sum of seasonal indices is 100 times the number of season. Next, a monthly seasonal variation measured or adjusted to, the answer is 1200. How? There are 12 months multiplied by 100, 1200. Next question, a quarterly seasonal variation measures are adjusted to, there are 4 quarters multiplied by 100, 400 will be the correct answer in the exam. Stationarity means the probability distribution of the time series variable does not change over time. It remains the same. Next is, in a time series, the two main components which cause lack of stationarity are trend and seasonal variations. We try our level best to remove these two. Next is, the correlation coefficient within the successive values of a time series is called serial correlation. Next, the Durbin-Watson statistic takes values in the interval 0, 4. Next, what does a Durbin-Watson test statistic value of 0.1 with the p-value class close to 0 indicate? Positive autocorrelation. Next is, the augmented Dickey-Fuller unit root test can be used to test for stationarity. Next is, ARMA stands for A for autoregressive moving average. Next question is, ARIMA autoregressive integrated moving average. ARIMA stands for autoregressive integrated moving average. Next is, in ARIMA PDQ, PDQ model. P is order of autoregressive model. It is the order of autoregressive model. Next is a white noise model is classified as ARIMA 000. ARIMA 000. This is the order. A random walk model is classified as ARIMA 010. I will wait for your precious comments on today's video. Assalamu alaikum.